A blonde gets a job as a physical education teacher of 14-year-olds. On her first day, she comes to watch the kids playing soccer. She watches as they all get together and starts playing. However, she quickly notices a boy at the end of the field standing alone, while all the other kids are running around having fun. She takes pity on him and decides to speak to him. "You okay?" she says kindly. "Yes," he says. "You can go and play with the other kids you know," she says encouragingly. "It's best I stay here," he says. "Why is that, sweetie?" asks the compassionate teacher. The boy gives her a weird look and says, "Because I'm the goalie."
A couple of old ladies were sitting on a patio and speaking to each other about their grandchildren. "I send gifts, greeting cards and checks to my grandchildren," complains one. "And still they barely visit me," the second old lady said. "Oh, I too send checks to my grandchildren and they visit me all the time." "You are so fortunate to have more grateful grandchildren than my own," said the first one sadly. The second old lady smiled. "No, my grandchildren are about as grateful as yours." "So what do you do different? Are your checks bigger than mine?" asked the first one, surprised. "No," chuckled the other old lady. "I just don't sign mine."
A boy goes to his father and asks him, "Daddy, how was I born?" "Very well," his dad sighed. "One day you'll find out anyway." "How shall I put it in a way your generation will understand?" "Well," he said, Mom and Dad got together in a chat room. Dad set up a date via email with your mom and we met at a cyber cafe. We snuck into a secluded room and then your mother downloaded from your dad's memory stick. As soon as Dad was ready for an upload, it was discovered that neither one of us had used a firewall. Since it was too late to hit the delete button, 9 months later the blessed virus appeared. And that's the story.
A rabbi is planning on retiring from his main occupation, which is giving circumcisions. Over the years he's saved up all the foreskins from all the circumcisions he's taken part in. He looks at them and decides to take them to the local leatherworker to see if something can be made of them. The rabbi explains that he'd like to have a retirement gift made out of the foreskins, and the leatherworker agrees and tells the rabbi to come back in a couple weeks. A couple weeks later the rabbi comes back and the leatherworker hands him a wallet. "All those foreskins and you only made me a wallet?" the rabbi exclaims. The leatherworker replies, "Don't fret, if you rub it a bit it becomes a suitcase."
A man walks into an antique store and starts looking around. Suddenly, he gazes upon the most stunning bronze statue of a Siamese cat. He asks the store owner how much he wants for the statue. The store owner replies, "It's $200 for the statue and $2,000 for the story that goes with it." The man replies, "I really don't care about the story, but I do want the statue." As the man is paying for the statue, the shop owner says, "All right, but I guarantee you will be back for the story." The man walks out of the shop and starts down the street carrying the cat statue. When he comes to the crosswalk, he happens to glance behind him and sees 3 or 4 cats sitting about 10 feet away, looking at him. He shrugs it off and crosses when the light changes. He goes several more blocks and, at another crosswalk, looks behind himself again. This time there are about 30 cats sitting there looking at him. The man starts to get a little nervous and picks up his pace when the light changes. By the time the man reaches the pier at the end of the street, he has now been running for several blocks. He was running because every time he turned around, there were more and more cats behind him. He looked like the Pied Piper. When he got to the end of the pier, he turned around once more and saw at least 2,000 cats sitting there looking at him. There were so many cats that there was no way to get off the pier without going through them, and he knew there was no way he was going to do that. In a panic, he turned toward the water and heaved the statue as far as he could. Amazingly, all of the cats ran right past him and jumped in the water after the statue and never came out. The man, still shaking from his ordeal, immediately started running back to the shop. As he burst through the door, the shop owner saw him and said, "I told you that you'd be back for the story." "To heck with the story," gasps the man. "Do you have a statue of a politician?"
A long time ago, a wealthy man was having an affair with an Italian woman. One night, during one of their rendezvous, she confided in him that she was pregnant. Not wanting to ruin his reputation or his marriage, he paid her a large sum of money if she would go to Italy to have the child. If she stayed in Italy, he would also provide child support until the child turned 18. She agreed, though she wondered how he would know when the baby was born. To keep it discreet, he told her to mail him a postcard and write spaghetti on the back. He would then arrange for child support. One day, about 9 months later, he came home to his confused wife. "Honey," she said, "you received a very strange postcard today." "Oh, just give it to me and I'll explain it later," he said. The wife handed the card over and watched as her husband read the card, then promptly turned white and fainted. Alarmed, she picked up the card on the floor and read aloud, "Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. 2 with meatballs, 1 without." When I got home last night, my wife demanded that I take her someplace expensive. So I took her to a gas station. That's when the fight started. After retiring, I went to the Social Security office to apply. The woman behind the counter asked me for my driver's license to verify my age. I looked in my pockets and realized I had left my wallet at home. I told the woman that I was very sorry, but I would have to go home and come back later. The woman said, "Unbutton your shirt." So I opened my shirt, revealing my curly silver hair. She said, "That silver hair on your chest is proof enough for me," as she processed my Social Security application. When I got home, I excitedly told my wife about my experience at the Social Security office. She said, "You should have dropped your pants. You might have gotten disability too." And that's when the fight started. My wife and I were sitting at a table at my high school reunion, and I kept staring at a drunken lady swigging her drink as she sat alone at a nearby table. My wife asked, "Do you know her?" "Yes," I sighed. "She's my old girlfriend. I understand she took to drinking right after we split up those many years ago, and I hear she hasn't been sober since." "My God," says my wife. "Who would think that a person could go on celebrating that long?" And that's when the fight started. I took my wife to a restaurant. The waiter, for some reason, took my order first. "I'll have the strip steak, medium rare, please," he said. "Aren't you worried about the mad cow?" "Nah, she can order for herself." And that's when the fight started. A woman is standing nude, looking in the bedroom mirror. She is not happy with what she sees and says to her husband, "I feel horrible. I look old, fat, and ugly. I really need you to pay me a compliment." The husband replies, "Your eyesight's darn near perfect." And that's when the fight started. I tried to talk my wife into buying a case of Miller Lite for $14.95. Instead, she bought a jar of cold cream for $7.95. I told her the beer would make her look better at night than the cold cream. And that's when the fight started. My wife asked me if a certain dress made her but look big. I told her not as much as the dress that she had worn yesterday. And that's when the fight started. A man and a woman were asleep like 2 innocent babies. Suddenly, at 3 o'clock in the morning, a loud noise came from outside. The woman, bewildered, jumped up from the bed and yelled at the man, "Holy crap! That must be my husband!" So the man jumped out of the bed. Scared and naked, he jumped out the window. He smashed himself on the ground, ran through a thorn bush and to his car as fast as he could go. A few minutes later he returned and went up to the bedroom and screamed at the woman, "I am your husband!" The woman yelled back, "Yeah, then why were you running?" And that's when the fight started. Saturday morning I got up early, quietly dressed, made my lunch, grabbed the dog, and slipped quietly into the garage. I hooked up the boat to the truck and proceeded to back out into a torrential downpour. The wind was blowing 50 miles per hour, so I pulled back into the garage, turned on the radio, and discovered that the weather would be bad all day. I went back into the house, quietly undressed, and slipped back into bed. I cuddled up to my wife's back, now with a different anticipation, and whispered, "The weather out there is terrible." My loving wife of 10 years replied, "Can you believe my stupid husband is out fishing in that?" And that's when the fight started. I asked my wife, "Where do you want to go for our anniversary?" It warmed my heart to see her face melt in sweet appreciation. "Somewhere I haven't been in a long time," she said. So I suggested, "How about the kitchen?" And that's when the fight started. My wife and I were watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire while we were in bed. I turned to her and said, "Do you want to have love?" "No," she answered. I then said, "Is that your final answer?" She didn't even look at me this time, simply saying, "Yes." So I said, "Then I'd like to phone a friend." And that's when the fight started.
Enjoyed the laughs? Subscribe for more. Hit that button now and never miss the fun. A 5-year-old girl went to visit her grandmother one day. She played with her dolls as Grandma dusted the furniture. At one point, she looked up and asked, "Grandma, how come you don't have a boyfriend?" Grandma replied, "Honey, my TV is my boyfriend. I can sit in my bedroom and watch it all day long. The TV evangelists keep me company and make me feel so good. The comedies make me laugh. I'm so happy with my TV as my boyfriend." Grandma turned on the TV and the picture was horrible. She started adjusting the knobs trying to get the picture in focus. Frustrated, she started hitting the back of the TV hoping to fix the problem. The little girl heard the doorbell ring, so she hurried to open the front door. When she opened the door, there stood Grandma's minister. The minister said, "Hello, young lady. Is your grandma home?" The little girl replied, "Yeah, she's in the bedroom banging at her boyfriend."
A little old lady checked into a motel on her 70th birthday, but she was a bit lonely. She thought, "I'll call one of those men you see advertised in the phone books for escorts and sensual massages." She looked through the phone book, found a full-page ad for a guy calling himself Tender Tony, a very handsome man with assorted physical skills flexing in the photo. He had all the right muscles in all the right places, thick wavy hair, long powerful legs, a dazzling smile, 6-pack abs, and she felt quite certain she could bounce a quarter off his butt. The old lady figured, what the heck, nobody will ever know. She gave him a call. "Good evening, ma'am, how may I help you?" Oh my, he sounded so sensual, thought the old lady. Afraid she would lose her nerve if she hesitated, she rushed right in. "Hi, I hear you give a great massage. I'd like you to come to my motel room and give me one." "No, wait, I should be straight with you. I'm in town all alone and what I want is S*X. I want it hot, and I want it now. Bring rubber, leather, whips, everything you've got in your bag of tricks. We'll go hot and heavy all night, tie me up, cover me in chocolate syrup and whipped cream, anything and everything, I'm ready." "Now how does that sound?" asked the old lady. "That sounds absolutely fantastic, madam, but you need to press 9 for an outside line."
I would like to share a personal experience I had about drinking and driving. This might save you the cost and embarrassment of being arrested for DWI. As you know, people have been known to have unexpected brushes with the authorities from time to time, often on the way home after a social session with family or friends. Well, recently, it happened to me. I was out for the night to a party and had more than several margaritas coupled with a bottle of rather lovely red wine. It was held at a great Italian restaurant. Although relaxed, I still had the common sense to know I was slightly over the limit. That's when I did something I've never done before. I took a taxi home. On the way home there was a police roadblock, but since it was a taxi they waved it past and I arrived home safely without incident. These roadblocks can be anywhere and I realized how lucky I was to have chosen to take a taxi. The real surprise to me was that I had never driven a taxi before. Not sure where I got it, and now that it's in my garage I don't know what to do with it. If you want to borrow it, give me a call.
One day while he was at the track playing the ponies and all but losing his shirt, Mitch noticed a priest who stepped out onto the track and blessed the forehead of one of the horses lining up for the fourth race. Lo and behold, that horse a very long shot won the race. Before the next race, as the horses began lining up, Mitch watched with interest the old priest step onto the track. Sure enough, as the fifth race horses came to the starting gate, the priest made a blessing on the forehead of one of the horses. Mitch made a beeline for a betting window and placed a small bet on the horse. Again, even though it was another long shot, the horse the priest had blessed won the race. Mitch collected his winnings, and anxiously waited to see which horse the priest would bless for the sixth race. The priest again blessed the horse. Mitch bet big on it, and it won. Mitch was elated. As the races continued, the priest kept blessing long-shot horses, and each one ended up coming in first. By and by, Mitch was pulling in some serious money. By the last race, he knew his wildest dreams were going to come true. He made a quick dash to the ATM, withdrew all his savings, and awaited the priest's blessing that would tell him which horse to bet on. True to his pattern, the priest stepped onto the track for the last race and blessed the forehead of an old nag that was the longest shot of the day. Mitch also observed the priest blessing the eyes, ears, and hooves of the old nag. Mitch knew he had a winner and bet every cent he owned on the old nag. He then watched dumbfounded as the old nag come in dead last. Mitch, in a state of shock, made his way down to the track area where the priest was. Confronting the old priest, he demanded, "Father, what happened? All day long you blessed horses and they all won. Then in the last race, the horse you blessed lost by a Kentucky mile. Now, thanks to you I've lost every cent of my savings, all of it." The priest nodded wisely and with sympathy. "Son," he said, "that's the problem with most people. You can't tell the difference between a simple blessing and last rites." A soldier approaches a nun. "I don't want to be rude, but can I please hide under your dress?" "I'll explain later," said the man. "Go ahead," answered the nun. Two high-ranked army officers walk up and ask the nun, "Have you, by any coincidence, seen a soldier?" After the officers disappear, the soldier leaves the dress and says, "Thank you so much. I don't want to go to Afghanistan. My apologies, but I got to say that you have a nice pair of legs." The nun responded, "Should have looked higher. You would have seen the nicest pair of balls. I also don't want to go to Afghanistan."
A nun was praying when the priest approached her. The priest lightly tapped the nun on the shoulder and asked her to follow him. The priest walked away and the nun quickly followed not far behind him. They arrived in a room behind the church. The priest went inside the room and gestured for the nun to do the same. "Sister, close the door," said the priest. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul," prayed the nun. "Sister, lock it," said the priest. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul," prayed the nun. "Sister, close the window curtains," said the priest. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul," prayed the nun. "Sister, close the lights," the priest said. "Jesus, if something ever happens, please forgive my soul." "Sister, come here beside me," the priest said. "Jesus, I'm sorry for what is about to happen, please forgive my soul in heaven," prayed the nun. "Sister, look at my watch, it glows in the dark." Hey, fantastic viewers! If you've enjoyed the laughter and joy in today's 20-minute comedy extravaganza, make sure to hit that subscribe button now. By subscribing, you not only guarantee yourself a daily dose of humor but also become an essential part of our growing community. Don't miss out on the fun. Click that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and join us for more hilarious moments. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to keep the laughter rolling together. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.